Hello everybody, my name is Rolando Ángel Alvarado and this presentation is entitled Overcoming Music Teaching Inequities Day to Day, Exploring some cases from Chile. Before starting, please like and subscribe to my channel. Well, first of all, we need to know that Chile is situated in Latin America and it's the longest country on the world. Certainly, such a geographical condition gives rise to a centralized model because the most important political and economic agencies work in the central zone, encompassing the area from Pacific Ocean to the Andes Mountains. Therefore, it serves as a national barrier to differentiate between the northern and the southern areas. The northern zone is known for its desert weather and Aymara traditions, while the southern zone is well known as a woodland area represented by Mapuche and Hispanic traditions. Besides, there is also an insular zone that has deep cultural difference with the continental part of the country because Polynesian sounds prevail. That being said, we've decided to study music teaching inequities because even when Chile has economic prosperity and its education system is positioned at the first place of the PISA Latin American ranking, the OECD has informed that Chile is one of the most inequitable member countries, and now I'm going to inform 4 reasons linked to education. First, mass media created myths that private schools obtain better academic outcomes than public schools throughout a misinterpretation of official reports. Second, those myths cause a social fragmentation because the elite matriculate children at private schools, middle class struggle for enrolling children at charter schools, and the economically disadvantaged population is segregated in public schools. Third, only 2 in 5 third grade students attend a school that possesses a music room. It's important to highlight that according to the Inter-American Development Bank, Chile has the most adequate infrastructural conditions in Latin America. Finally, every Chilean social uprising has taken student displeasure as a departure point. The last insurrection was seen in 2019 and was determinant for starting to write a new constitution democratically. Given these 4 reasons, we aim to delve into teacher narratives focused on equal opportunities for music education in schools situated in different areas from Chile. To carry out data collection, 3 conceptual categories have been established: the music education budget, the distribution of provisions, and the design of the national curriculum for music education. The narrative inquiry proposed by Sandra Stauffer is used as a method in this study because teacher stories can be analyzed from a humanistic and constructivist perspective, taking 3 commonplaces. Temporality serves to understand narratives in a temporal space, both from retrospective and prospective standpoints. Sociality delves into the existential mindset, considering feelings, moral attitudes, and expectations. Finally, the place establishes the physical borders of the school where the stories live. Therefore, these commonplaces provide a variety of teacher narratives from a macrosocial perspective, disclosing common issues that affect different schools. The non-probability sample is chosen by criteria linked to maximum variation sample, because all participants must teach music at the schools and each geographical zone should be represented. Research expectations were not centered on the proportionality of the sample because there is no official records concerning the number of music teachers in the education system. Concretely, the sample is comprised of 30 music teachers from different geographical zones, 7 northern teachers, 15 participants from the central zone, 7 southern educators, and 1 insular teacher. The age of participants fluctuates between 28 and 46 years old. However, 5 teachers are younger, and 1 educator from the central zone is 65 years old. Total years of experience depends on age. Nonetheless, the years of teaching experience at the current school displays less variation because half of the sample has 2 years, has maximum 11 teachers expressed between 3 and 6 years, and 4 central educators got a stable job 12 years ago. 23 participants work in socially vulnerable schools, fluctuating the percentage of vulnerability between 70% and 96%, although one teacher from the Central Zone works in one of the most elite schools in the country. Participants are qualified as music specialists generally, except for 2 other educators who have a governmental authorization due to the lack of music teachers in the most septentrional area. Finally, 3 other educators have a master's degree in education. 7 teachers from the Central Zone study master programs, identifying also 1 doctoral researcher. No southern teacher is studying a postgraduate program, and the insular educator left a master program in assessment. Regarding data collection, 3 questions were asked through a semi-structured interview, taking into account the commonplaces. Temporality: how do you tailor the national curriculum to your particular environment? Sociality: which challenges are faced by music education and why? And the place: are you happy with your facilities and resources for music teaching? Why or why not? Besides, participants provide by their own accord photos and videos concerning teaching activities at the schools that were classified into 3 categories: facilities and supplies for music teaching, musical tasks in classroom settings, and musical performance in school rituals. Before the application of the interview, teachers receive a personal email that describes the purpose of the study, the protocol for participating in the interview, and ethical considerations based on Chilean law, which establishes both their voluntary participation and their freedom to retract it after data collection. Participants were interviewed through the Zoom app, previously authorizing interviewers to audio record the session. The timing of interviews fluctuates between 75 and 130 minutes. At the end, the interviewer requested photos and videos of discussed matters, ensuring data confidentiality in case where people and institutional logos appear in images. Participants provided this digital evidence through their own accord via Google Drive and authorizes the publication of the materials and narratives on scientific platforms. Subsequently, each interview was transcribed and the information was organized according to the 3 conceptual categories, carrying out procedures of open, actual, and selective coding in order to reach a central category. Concerning music education budget, participants conveyed that head teachers allocate very limited resources to music education in terms of the instructional time and the budget, due to they conceive the music as a superfluous activity within a school. It's sad that some schools have no music room and principals are disinterested in installing facilities, despite the national policy understand the music learning as a right, in line with the civil agenda and the 5 music rights. Such quotations suggest an intention of silencing music education, disclosing 3 factors of social gaps. First, private agencies as conservatoires take a greater responsibility for musical training, becoming music learning a privilege because the knowledge access is subject to a fees payment. Second, the limited instructional time forces music educators to complete working hours by either teaching in both the primary and secondary education levels in the same day, or by establishing job relationships with 2 or more schools. Therefore, music teachers are mentally exhausted in the whole system, including the most elite school in the country. Lastly, school administrations don't allocate funding for the purchase of musical instruments or the construction of music rooms. Again, a lack of funding negatively affects students from socioeconomically disadvantaged families who may drop out music learning as a result of high instruments cost and enrollment fees in conservatoires. The distribution of provisions also reveals inequities because there is a centralization. Concretely, 11 participants reported that their schools have no music classroom, therefore they carry toolboxes from room to room, admitting a physical exhaustion that is caused only by bad work conditions. When lessons are imparted at secondary education levels, music teachers must leave the classroom because other elective subjects use it. In those scenarios, music education is imparted in playgrounds often. In addition to the lack of facilities, participants also reported a scarcity of provisions as a result of many factors. For instance, a variety of musical instruments were bought throughout the governmental office, but the delivery has been delayed more than 1 year. Another example is that the Ministry of Education delivered new musical instruments to the school, but the principal hid this provision in his bathroom for at least 1 year, for no apparent reason. They were discovered accidentally after a staff meeting. Schools classified as socially vulnerable depend on principals for provision because of their abilities to establish bridge between music teachers and governmental agencies. In light of such precarious situation, some participants tend to encourage the elaboration and repair of woodwinds and percussion instruments using recycled materials. Moreover, one teacher used a carton with piano keys drawn on it, which is then played by the students. So there are circumstantial differences because teachers from the central zone choose to assign their students handcrafting tasks to increase the number of musical instruments. However, teachers who work in the most northern and southern schools carry out these kinds of activities by necessity, which reveals that infrastructural inequity is a notorious problem for schools. Besides, economic situation of the school also is important, as teachers have turned to parent councils in private and charter schools, but a group of parents and guardians in a stable economic situation is not the same as one comprised of such economically disadvantaged families. This serves as an example of inequity. While some parent councils can enhance facilities and research within a school, others have difficulty overcoming adversities. Finally, the design of the national curriculum for music education fosters the construction of social stereotypes, because the music from the central zone prevails in the national curriculum, while Andean music is completely disregarded. For instance, one teacher expressed that all her students come from Bolivia, but they were forced to dance central music in a county celebration, and the National Day from Bolivia is not celebrated nor mentioned in the list of the day's anniversaries. To overcome this situation, the participant teaches Andean music and tries fostering critical and emotional debate centered on lyrics of pensive social songs, as both Chile and Bolivia are currently undergoing social conflicts. Along the same lines, another teacher from the Northern Zone criticized how the national curriculum provides specific information about rhythms and celebrations from the Central Zone, but considers Northern musical styles only superficially. More precisely, he conveyed that the national curriculum overlooks specific traditions from the Northern Zone. Therefore, it's time that regional curriculum arise in different zones to tackle local requirements. To overcome this adversity, this teacher and his students participate as musicians in many of the feasts and carnivals in town. Consequently, a portrait about music education inequities emerged as of three main points. First, the limited budget for music education. Two, the centralized distribution of provisions. And three, the curriculum centralization. These main points may be iteratively understood from the three common places. More precisely, A transversal disconformity arises regarding the limited budget for music education, as working conditions are adversely affected by both the school infrastructure and the instructional time for music education. In any case, northern and southern communities feel especially undervalued by the central government because the centralized distribution of provisions takes longer than 1 year. Lastly, those same communities also feel undervalued by the current national curriculum because their social and cultural conditions are overlooked in teaching units. The three main points impede equal opportunities for accessing music learning in the Chilean school system. Specifically, the limited budget for music education causes a general discomfort among music teachers because they often experience job burnout as a result of their work conditions. Such feelings of unease are more common in remote areas away from the central zone because the national government takes more than 1 year to deliver educational resources in those communities. Moreover, the musical culture of those remote zones is incorporated superficially within the national curriculum, which is a risk in itself because the lack of information may give rise to the construction of negative social stereotypes regarding those communities. Last but not least, we conclude that music teachers are forced to go to work on a daily basis with the determination to overcome adversities and limitations imposed by the education system, which implies that, to a greater or lesser extent, educators develop a capacity of resilience in the workplace. Therefore, some teachers work on a darker side than others. Some teachers have access to a music room and actual musical instruments at the school, while others teach piano techniques using piece of carton, impart music lessons at playgrounds, or carry toolboxes from room to room. Such a pedagogical inventiveness for overcoming educational adversities serves to prove that, despite everything, all music teachers strive to see the sound daily so that their students can experience the benefits music education has to offer. Finally, some implications can be proposed. From a theoretical perspective, it's crucial to replicate this study in other Latin American education systems in order to understand the lack of equal opportunities in music education from an international perspective. To this end, we recommend conducting comparative educational studies. From a systemic perspective, it's time that public and private agencies allocate funding for the construction of music rooms and the delivery of musical research at the school across the country. It's inconceivable that music teachers are still forced to place their pedagogical focus on psychomotor emulation rather than musical expression due to a lack of provisions. The current study provides evidence regarding deficiencies in music education before the COVID-19 pandemic, so the next step is to seek funds and accomplish solutions, taking into consideration all recommendations provided by the health authorities. Lastly, from a school perspective, it's imperative that head teachers assume a proactive role for enhancing temporal and infrastructural conditions for music education. To achieve this, principals and other administrators should act as mediators between the music teachers and governmental agencies and become music educators' primary supporters. Given that some principles limit teacher performance, it's essential that the education system require school administrators to complete courses that highlight the importance of music and arts in the holistic development of human beings. Well, if you have enjoyed this presentation, please like and subscribe to my channel. If you want to check my publications, visit my ResearchGate profile or any other social network writing my name in Google, Rolando Angel Alvarado. My best wishes in these difficult times, my gratitude to essential workers, personnel of the health system, and especially to school teachers who endure the education task despite actions driven by policymakers. Well, bye-bye.